Gonna go live.
You'll see it up at, hey, Dr. Kimberly, it says we're live.
Are you serious? Oh my goodness.
We are.
Hello.
Serious, that is.
How are
And
you?
live.
You changed your office around.
No, I just changed, my old clunky computer. I finally got something new, but the new is all new and I hate new and I got to rearrange. But you see my door now.
Yeah.
And my small collection of remember when we used to go to events live and you'd get a name tag?
Oh my gosh, I do. I have a bunch of those hanging around and I was like, oh, the days of the lanyard.
The lanyard, that's what it's called, the lanyard.
Well, today is Thursday, April 15th. Wow, half of the month is almost over. We are like 2.5 weeks away from being on air for a whole year. Can you believe it? And we want to say thank you so much to the Deaf and Hard of Hearing for signing us all the way. We learned some great signs in this past year, boom, boom,
moose, moose, zombie. We need all these important ones.
And so we have learned some really great things.
What's that one?
Year. That's Beth's show one that she likes to do. Oh, she's laughing. She's smiling.
Laughing, smiling.
Yes. And we want to say,
Patrick, all these things you're going to learn today and more.
We want to say thank you so much to Disability Advocates of Kent County and 100 Shades of Disability for helping us do what it is that we do. Oh, yeah. Is that her? That's her. Yeah, that's her. Yeah, so we are so excited.
We're all high tech in our graphics and informatics.
Yes. So today we are really excited to have Mr. Patrick Parks. We were just talking in the green room. I just think that is so awesome. Yes, to have a green room, but it's a Zoom room that is of green. Except for, I don't know, you just get to see inside my house. So, and yeah. And the closer we are, you watch. I said, this is truly, a green room. I'm trying to situate the dog, get my lashes on,
How is that young Skip Barrington doing?
You know what?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Doing things that little dogs do.
All right.
Doing things little dogs do. Little puppies. But Patrick, wow. We were just talking about we've come full circle, been almost a year. You were getting ready to just starting with Disability Advocates of Kent County. You were taking over that piece of doing the absolutely accessible Kent. And I think we were trying to catch you up to where we had been, what we had done. And I am so excited because I think this year you've really added some extra pieces and just really made this virtual conference make people feel as though they are really there and a part.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, I want to thank you guys for having me back. This is awesome. It just speaks to how the show has grown, right? That a year ago we were sitting here and I think you guys had just gotten started. I just got started, right? And now we're here a year later and we're all blessed to be here. So that's, it's great to be here. And yes, we're super excited about the event coming up. We have not one, but two amazing speakers that will be joining us.
Wow.
Right? So we've automatically improved the event just by having another perspective, just, another renowned expert on this universal design accessibility journey.
Yeah.
So we are beyond excited and it's gonna be a lot of fun. So I hope folks will tune in.
I think what's different this year that I really do like, and we've touched on it bit by bit throughout the year, but you're actually going to have someone who is an expert when it comes to home design.
Yep.
We talk about buildings and people doing the bare minimums, but we're actually going to see what does it look like to have a totally accessible home. I'm really excited about that. I don't know about anybody else. I have really bragged about RDI Builders and just how they came in and really fine-tuned it. I think a lot of people think they've done a great thing when they say, oh, we made it 0 step. you know, and he actually made the doors a lot wider, made the master bathroom. It's designed to be able to have a full 360 turn if you're in a motorized chair or in a manual chair. I do have my bathroom counters where I can wheel right up, and the wheelchair fits right up underneath underneath the sink. And you know, some grab bars if I try to pull myself up towards the sink. Even with the bathroom, they've lowered the counters here at the eating area and where you wash dishes. So yeah, let's see. Oh, we lowered the thermostat so that I can see the thermostat. And
Yep.
hey, I mean, those are just those little small nuances that make life so much nicer for those persons with disabilities, especially if you're in a wheelchair. You want to be able to reach everything that you need to reach. You know, I can roll up and open up my own windows if I want to and lift them up from the wheelchair without hesitation or reservation.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the key there, Dr. Kimberly, is this idea that it has to work for you, right? And
Yes.
that's the thing about residential that's been interesting to me in this role, because you know, we talk about the ADA and that's kind of our base point. That's the association that most people have. When they think about accessibility, that's the first thing that comes to mind is ADA. But the truth of the matter is, a little bit of a spoiler alert here, ADA doesn't apply to residential spaces, right? And so a lot of folks are, when they think about residential, they're kind of at a loss again, because they're like, okay, you know, if ADA doesn't apply and ADA isn't perfect, how do we, you know, service these consumers that are looking for inclusive and accessible spaces? And so that's where, you know, we come in as Absolutely Accessible Kent as disability advocates. And then, as you will see in the program, we're relaunching our Zero Step program, which is a fabulous program. You talked about Judy Morris on your earlier episode this week. One of our amazing OTs, she and her team have done a ton of work to relaunch that program. And so we're super excited to be a resource for folks in West Michigan.
Joshua says hello. Joshua is all the way in Georgia. We're really excited. Josie Jones has joined us today, and Tracy Walls. She says, hey, family. Tracy is over on the east side of the United States, not the west east side of Michigan, but yeah, she's not there. We got to go all the way beyond.
We have high tech. Remember, Patrick, high tech graphics.
High tech graphics. Those, you know, that our Michigan map right here. You're where we are. Where are we on the hand there? I'm terrible with geography. Can you tell?
On the map. She is off the map. She's on the United States map.
Oh, well, you know,
I think she's in Maryland or New Jersey, somewhere over there on the East Coast.
Well, I was just going to say, that's super cool that you have such a national audience now too. And that's one of the, I think the silver linings of these kind of events, these virtual events, right, is that we're not limited anymore to folks joining us in a ballroom in Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
People can join us from anywhere, all over the state, all over the country, all over the world, really. And they're going to learn something, right?
She's in Maryland. I'm sorry, she's in Maryland.
She's in Maryland. Well, that's awesome. I mean, so even though, you know, a lot of our stuff is going to be grounded in our Michigan building codes, you know, these building codes apply all over the place. And so she's going to learn something in Maryland. Your other viewers elsewhere are going to learn something. So I encourage everybody everywhere to come join us on this journey on Tuesday.
Well, we still have 2 tickets that we can give away so as our guests. So I'm really excited there's 2 left for someone to inbox me to say, hey, you know what? I want to attend. I want to find out. One of the things that I appreciate about having a universally designed home, and okay, so we're just going to say this nicely and politely. You know, my husband is not a tall man. He's not tall. You know, he's tall to me in his spirit, but you know, his stature, he is not tall. So some of the small nuances to accommodate me in the wheelchair, he is able to enjoy as well. So it's not like, oh my gosh, we have all of these changes and my husband is like 6'2", so I think it's nice. I think he's like 5'8".
Oh, absolutely. And to that
Yeah, so
point,
he's
I think
5'8", and so at 5'8", that's about maybe a couple inches taller than this power chair. So it actually works out really nicely.
yeah, absolutely. And I was just going to say, so one of our speakers, Rosemary Rossetti, who's the expert on the residential side, she talks about this in her presentation, which is, when she's seated in her wheelchair, she's about 4'2", I believe. And she has a husband who is 6'4". And so she talks about how, these universal design features in her award-winning Universal Design Living Laboratory in Columbus, Ohio, she talks about how these features work well for both her and her husband, Mark, who's much taller than she is in a seated position, right? So, I mean, you just hit on it, Dr. Kimberly, this idea that, universal design, inclusive design, it's about making it work for everyone and allowing folks to kind of coexist together. I think that's the beauty of it. We're, bringing families back together, right? You may have parents who are experiencing a disability and you might want to move them into your home with you, and a universal design home allows you to do that and allows all of you to age in place and accommodate changing needs. So, you are absolutely right. The accessible design is not just for the person like me or like you with a diagnosed disability, but it really works for everyone.
Well, I think that he likes the feature, and he's like, I would have never thought about that. How a counter is designed that when you walk up to it and you want to wash dishes or you want to, fill water in a pot, you hit the baseboard and it's like, oh. But for us, it's open. They created like a little alcove up underneath that, so that when I wheel up, that I'm like right up still up underneath the sink. I can reach it. Just just a nice feature. And when he goes to stand there to wash dishes, because I don't wash dishes.
I don't either. Confession time. I don't either. So
her don't wash dishes. So for him to stand there, it's like, oh, the first time he thought about it, it was like, oh my gosh, this is nice. To walk up to the counter, up to the sink, and his feet aren't hitting. You have to think about it. My son Joshua, he is, 6 foot tall. He's like maybe 6 feet, 6'1", and he wears a size 12 shoe. So it was nice for him to, come up to the counter at Christmas time and say, oh, wait a minute, my feet can fit up underneath there. My other son, the younger one, he's a football player. So he's just like, yeah, it's nice to have the extra wide walls because, Rudy's kind of robust.
Rudy, hey, not to short circuit today's conversation, but I can see us getting Patrick back and Judy, and we'll have Stanley walking around the house. He could be another screen on our Zoom here.
That would be cool.
Except he won't be like I think there's a book out there for the kids called Flat Stanley, right? He won't be Flat Stanley. He'll be real live Stanley. Right?
He'll be real live Zoom Stanley.
Yep. Hey, I'm down. You guys book it. You guys send me the invite. I'm there. We'll get Judy. We'll have a good time.
Yeah, he'll love it. I mean, just those nice nuances. We even put a garage door opener right at the door. So as you come down the hallway, normally when you get ready to go out into your garage, from your home, if you have a house like I do, where you just wheel in and bam, the garage door opener is right outside the door. But for me, there's one right on the inside, and so as soon as you get to the door, it's wheelchair accessible. You just push it. He was like, oh my gosh, this is nice. So just noticing, the little nuances that come with hanging out with a chick like me. Yep.
Absolutely.
Like not just to mention the parking. I mean, he loves the parking. That's
Yep. I like to joke, Dr. Kimberly, that I think there's a shirt out there that says, I'm just in it for the free parking. But,
what? I need to get him one. I need to put a wheelchair on his shirt or a picture of me of being in the wheelchair and say, hey, he's just in it for the parking. Yeah.
We better not hang around each other too long, because I could send you some other shirts that aren't so live air appropriate too. But we'll
Family friendly show here, Patrick. Family friendly show.
That's
No.
right. That's right. So we're gonna keep it family friendly. We're gonna keep it PG. Stanley, we're gonna get you that free parking T-shirt. But it's, yeah, I mean, it's true, and I like to say, you know, we people with disabilities are the natural born innovators, right? Because
So,
I mean, it's through our lived experiences, and that's really what this project, this Absolutely Accessible Kent project, is all about, is putting our lived experiences, as you've found out, and as I've found out, and other test pilots have found out, right? That our experiences living this life and going through life on a day-to-day basis have value, because we can make things easier. We can create a user experience that works better for everyone. It's not just, you know, a wheelchair ramp off to the side. It's about how do we ramp a space in general so that everybody can use it? Because I think, as you pointed out on your show and other places, you know, a ramp is not just useful for a wheelchair. What about that mother with young children who's pushing a stroller, right? I mean, so I mean, that's just one example of how we've led the way as wheelchair users when it comes to universal, accessible, user-friendly design, right?
yeah. So Shayna, she is in Bel Air, Maryland. I would like to ask her a question, and the question is for you, and hopefully it's not going to give away what's going to happen on Tuesday. But Shayna cooks. Love, oh my gosh. So she has a cooking show that she does on YouTube. And I've watched her make things at her table. She has children who are in their teens, so they're able to assist. Will we be able to see something? And I've never seen how she puts things in and out of the oven.
Yep.
I mean, that's a big thing, I guess, for me. Is she responding? But your person that's going to be Tuesday, has she thought about, or will we talk about how stoves changed to make it more accessible?
Absolutely.
If you're in a wheelchair?
Absolutely. So I won't give anything away because I don't want to steal any of Rosemary's thunder, but I will tell you, because I've gotten to see kind of an advanced copy of her presentation, because I'm a VIP like that, you know.
Oh, of course.
So I got to see an advanced copy of her presentation, and that was one of the features that whole set of features I was really blown away by. I was like, what? I didn't even know they made that kind of a stove, right? Or I didn't even know they made those kind of shelf inserts to help you do the dishes or to help you put away dishes, right?
Right.
So I hate to like not be able to give you the information right now, but I'll just say, Shayna, join us on Tuesday, and you're gonna see some really cool stuff.
And
You know,
I was looking over here. Oh, wait, Dr. Kimberly, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was looking this way with my new cool setup because I just posted the link to the Eventbrite page for Tuesday's event. So inbox Dr. Kimberly if you'd like one of the free tickets. That she has 2. If not, sign up via Eventbrite. And if you need a scholarship, I don't have an inbox, do I? What does that mean? What does that mean, Dr. Kimberly?
You know what, Dave? I was just gonna say I'm feeling pretty generous today, and as you know, I just told Dr. Kimberly I'm kind of a VIP when it comes to this absolutely accessible Kent stuff. So you know, I would say obviously we'd love to have folks join with Dr. Kimberly, but also reach out to us as well, because we really do want to share the information. We want to make sure that, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day, is equipping folks with information. That's really what we're here for. So we got a buddy online here too.
Skip is around. Skip.
Hey. I guess I got him excited.
Skip's excited. Skip's going to join us for the event. But hey, there might be some accessible dog features too. You never know.
Okay, so I have to. I'm gonna need that. I lost the dog. We all want to talk about that right now. But I think that, so Shayna did answer the question. She said that her mom or her kids put things in the oven for her. So I think for me, I would be really excited to see a stove that I could do that. Now, one of the things that I do like about the stove that I do have, I can wheel right up to it, especially in my motorized chair, because it sits almost at the right level. And there is a grill portion. So I have on each side, I have a burner on this side, a burner on this side, and I have a grill in the center. So I've been able to like grill steaks. Yes. Now she kind of do that.
I love steaks.
I've been able to grill steaks, but then my biggest thing is being able to put something on the stove or take it off the stove, or being able to put something in the oven or take something out the oven. Now that's difficult. Number one, because I'm only doing it one-handed, and then number two, just the way that it's made and being in the wheelchair is not necessarily working. One of the things that I like, so you guys, you really need to work with your Centers for Independent Living. They all have occupational therapists. So wherever you are, Dave, if you would be kind enough to put the national link in there. So as you're watching, you'll see the national link. And when you click on there, you'll see for your state where you can connect with your Center for Independent Living. And just the piece that I love is that we get an opportunity to brainstorm what works best. Now, I love my dishwasher. I can wheel right up to the dishwasher. And because they have lowered everything for me, I can take things out, put them on the counter, or when I want to load it, put it on one side of the counter so that I can, load the dishwasher. And then, of course, I just use one of the drawers to be able to keep my little pods in. So I just reach over, get it in the pod. So, we've changed our kitchen drawers look differently because I need to, have things accessible to me. So it'll be nice to see on Tuesday, again, Absolutely Accessible Kent, inbox us. We have 2 tickets left. And if you actually go to Absolutely Accessible Kent Facebook page, I think you might be able to message Patrick, and Patrick might be able to hook you up with a scholarship, give you a couple of tickets to come online and watch the event. But I think it's going to be great, because even if you're not disabled, if you have a grandma, a cousin, a friend who, wow, we need something to make their home a little bit more accessible. I mean, even if you only do a couple of things, it's really nice.
Yeah, I was going to say too, Dr. Kimberly, Judy and I chat about this all the time, this idea about, it's in the OT world, it's a term called visitability, right? And really what that means is this idea that, I think when we design inaccessible spaces, we make this assumption that, individuals don't have friends with disabilities, right? And so like, oh, you don't need an accessible home because you don't have any friends that might want to come visit you that use wheelchairs, right? And imagine, I know you know how that feels, Dr. Kimberly, of like, you can't go and visit your friends that are in inaccessible spaces.
Or family.
or family too, right? So, and that even cuts deeper. So, this term visitability really comes into play because, to your point, universal accessible design is not just for the individual living day to day in an environment. It's for everybody to make spaces welcoming so that you can have family, you can have friends, you just in general. And this goes beyond, I mean, this is kind of, a no-brainer, but this goes beyond the home residential side as well. This is commercial, this is communities, this is much bigger than, we have a special focus on residential this year because we think it's such a need with, especially in Grand Rapids, how the housing market has grown and how, I even talked with my realtor, and he tells me all the time about how, he's so busy because, they're fielding so many offers and offers over asking. And it's just a very incredibly paced environment. And so I think, you know, the residential piece will be very timely this year, but I guess as I was getting at is like, this is a bigger thing. This is a bigger phenomenon, right? It's the homes, we're going to address the homes. The homes are the first piece. You have to be comfortable in where you're living. You have to be comfortable where you're spending the majority of your time. But I also think as we move out, as we kind of zoom out and take the 10,000-foot view, you know, the homes can set the stage for, okay, now I've got a home, but what does my community center look like?
Right.
What does my, you know, bus stop look like to get to work? What does, you know, so this is just the first part of this conversation. And so we are incredibly excited to be leading that, and we're thankful. You know, I know you've done a ton of work. A lot of our other test pilots and user experts have done a ton of work on this, these issues, and we're just happy to be all together having these conversations.
We are now at the 4:27 hour. We want to say thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to the Deaf and Hard of Hearing for rolling with us for almost 1 year. We want to say thank you to Disability Advocates of Kent County and 100 Shades of Disability, who sponsors us and allows us to do what it is that we do. We are so excited. Our guest today is Mr. Patrick Hartz. He, oh my gosh, is just a wonder in and of himself. As the title says, he is overseeing this event, Absolutely Accessible Kent. This is now year 3. This year, we're going to focus on home. Yes, we're going to bring it on around. You know, the first 2 years, we really talked about outdoor spaces, public spaces, and all of the designers, contractors, architects, city planners that came together. And as you can see, at least in the Kent County area, Absolutely Accessible Kent, that there are more spaces. You can catch a bus more easily with all curb cutaways, and they are designed not just for persons in wheelchairs, but those who have visual impairments, hearing impairments. We even have it where you know, if you get more time in a crosswalk. Who thinks about that? You know, how much time does it take for someone who is visually impaired or is physically disabled? How much time does it take you to get from one corner to the next when a light is red? So those are some of the things that test pilots over the years have helped to make changes within Kent County. So we're really excited. And this time we're going to be talking about the home. So if you're thinking about moving or you're currently somewhere and you might find some ideas of what you can do to make your home a little bit more accessible for you, or make it more accessible for a guest who may have a disability. One thing I do want to say before Pastor Dave comes in for a second is I love the idea of being able to make your home accessible for others to come in. If you are a veteran and you are living with someone, you can contact your VA. If you're going to be there for 6 months or more, the VA will give you a grant of $40,000 for you to rehab that person's home so that it is accessible for you. So even if your home, if you already have a specially adaptive housing grant and you're getting a home built, or you are waiting for your home to close and it's going to be 6 months or more, you can contact your VA, 1-800-827-1000, and they will connect you. And that number is universal. You can call it from anywhere in the United States, and it will connect you to a VA district office, and they will direct you from there. You will get a grant manager who will assist you in that process. So if you are a veteran on today, you can dial 1-800-827-1000 and get this process started. So there are monies that are available to veterans if your home is not accessible to you. Pastor Dave.
Well, and if you're in Kent County, surrounding counties, 616-949-1100. That's us at Disability Advocates, because we got a really cool additional contract this year with Kent County Veterans Services to add to what Dr. Kimberly just said. So that reminded me of that. So if you are a veteran who needs a home assessment and potentially modifications, or if there's a member of your household, so it doesn't have to be the veteran who is the person today who needs the home modification. It could be a member of the veteran's household. Give us a call. And then we have other resources available. The one edit though, Dr. Kimberly, is that not every Center for Independent Living has what we have for home assessment stuff. So I did put I put the national link on the Facebook page. So it's down there. You can, you just hover over your state and you'll find your Center for Independent Living. But if all else fails, call us. I mean, we can't do a home assessment in Topeka, Kansas. Nothing against Topeka, Kansas, unless you want to fly Patrick out, or Judy, I mean, in the state of Michigan, we've actually done home assessments almost in every county when we used to be able to work with the VA. That's a whole nother story. Yeah,
Dave,
but
I was just gonna say, I mean, I'd be happy to go back to Kansas. I spent some time there. I love the sunflower state. But as Dorothy says, we're not in Kansas anymore. Wizard of Oz reference, gotta hit that.
Absolutely.
Back to the home state, the Great Lakes state. But I was gonna add too, Dr. Kimberly, that, as Dave said, not all of the Centers for Independent Living have what we're trying to build yet as in terms of an absolutely accessible Kent. But part of our role too is to be that thought leader to help equip other organizations to do what we're doing as well. And so that's one of the things that we're really excited about. So other folks, in your audience, they may not have access to the direct services that we're doing, but we would love to connect them and try to connect them with the closest resource, right? And it goes, I think too, it goes beyond, the veterans are a super important piece of what we're doing, but even if you're not a veteran, I would encourage you to call disability advocates and think about and get connected with the resources we have available. Jenny Markle, who's probably watching today, right, is our amazing information and referral coordinator, or one of our coordinators. She'll connect you with folks, the appropriate departments. So, I would just encourage everybody to give us a call, and we'll try to help you out as best we can.
Dr. Kimberly, you look frozen. Uh-oh.
Did we lose Dr. Kimberly? Uh-oh.
So Patrick, I mean, it's 4:34. Tell us a little bit more about Tuesday's event. I posted down below the link to get tickets. So just a little bit more teaser about what people are going to be learning.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Dr. Kimberly mentioned, we're going to have a pretty nice focus on the residential spaces this year. It's something we haven't done in the past. We have Rosemary Rossetti, whom I mentioned, is the founder of Universal Design Learning Laboratory, right? Or I believe she calls it Living Laboratory, I'm sorry, because it also doubles as her home. So you'll see a whole host of best practices in residential universal design. But what I want folks to take away is not that your home has to match her home exactly, but I want it to be a learning experience for folks to be able to say, to get ideas to say, oh, well, she did it this way, maybe I can do it that way as well. Or maybe I need to do it a little bit differently. And that's where we've also dovetailed it with our OT and home assessment team, because our OT and home assessment team can help to customize those solutions for you. So that's the residential piece, but which we've spent a lot of time on today. But I also want to say that we're not abandoning the focus on the commercial space as well. In fact, we have Karen Breitmeyer, who is an award-winning architect out of Seattle. And I think the coolest part about Karen is that she is a wheelchair user. So she's realized through the course of her award-winning career, building her firm in Seattle, that she has a unique perspective that not a lot of folks share, right? And so, very similarly to Chris Downey, who was our speaker last year and who is a blind architect, who really was able to kind of tap into this new perspective of, hey, I lost my sight, but without my sight, I've actually gained some new insight that not everybody else has. So that was Chris. And I think Karen Breitmeyer offers a similar perspective. Being a wheelchair user, she literally talks about being at an eye level that not a lot of folks are at. And so she's able to, not only prime spaces for functionality, but to make spaces beautiful as well. Her whole presentation, the title of her presentation is how to make accessible and, yes, beautiful architecture. Because I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions. And Dave has been at this far longer than I have. He can attest to this. I think folks think when they, retrofit a space for accessibility that, they're automatically sacrificing style, right, Dave? That it's gonna
Yep. No, right. It has to look like a hospital or a nursing home. That's the only thing you can do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so I think unfortunately folks shy away from accessibility, or they do the bare minimum accessibility wise because they're like, oh, we've got this beautiful space. We can't afford to, ruin the aesthetic. But what Karen's going to show, she's going to really turn that notion on its head. And she's going to say, she's going to show us that in some of her projects there in Seattle and other places across the country, that yes, this is accessible, but it's also a very beautiful space. And I think the other cool piece about Karen, which I just learned yesterday in writing her bio, is that her work caught the attention of none other than President Obama when he was looking at making appointees to what's called the U.S. Access Board, right? Her work caught President Obama's attention, and Karen still serves on that access board today. And so Karen is not only, making these huge changes and making differences on the national stage, but so policy wise, but she's also, still very much immersed in things as a practicing architect. And she also shares a little bit, I don't want to give too much away, but she also shares a little bit about her own experiences and how these experiences have taught her that we really need to be elevating people with disabilities in these designer roles, right? Because we don't need to be shying away from these perspectives that we think are different, odd, weird, whatever society has. Oh, we have Dr. Kimberly? Looks like we have Dr. Kimberly back. And I will defer back to our host in a second here, but I just wanted to finish up that, I think we got some echo. Let's see. Oh, bad echo. There we go. All right. So, oh, still echoing on me here, Dr. Kimberly. Are you like playing my DJ here or something? Are we doing some techno beats here? That's what it sounds like. There we go. Oops.
There we go.
Oops. Did we?
There we go.
Woo,
technical issues in Byron Township today, folks. We're sorry.
Yeah. Dr. Kimberly, who's your internet provider? We need to get them out there to fix that ASAP because they're
Xfinity.
Oh, Xfinity. Okay. I'm not going to publicly shame you, Xfinity, but
they told me that, there are certain times of the day that we have a surge. And I said, well, I think you need to fix that. You've been around long enough.
Yeah. And the show's been around long enough, right? You're on almost your year anniversary, and this is how Xfinity's treating you. So we need to Xfinity, if you're listening, get out to Dr. Kimberly's house and let's get this fixed. But anyway, now that we're all back together, yes, I'm super excited about what Rosemary is offering on the residential side, but I'm also equally excited about what Karen Breitmeyer is going to provide us with on the commercial side as well. So it really is kind of a dual-pronged event, going to serve both the residential and commercial sectors. And then I think what is maybe, I know I've said there are a lot of cool parts, but I think maybe one of the coolest parts is that we're going to bring both the speakers together to then talk. They're both going to deliver their presentations, right? And then they're going to come together and, you know, kind of see where there's some synergy, where there's, you know, some uniformity of opinion, and maybe where there's some difference of opinion, and folks are going to be able to ask questions. It's going to be a really engaging time, engaging discussion. So we're looking forward to it.
One of the things that I learned during this process was to ask the question of the cost, because that's what we always hear. Oh, the costs are so prohibitive. And to hear a residential builder say the only cost is the extra time that it takes in making the design. But once you have a good design down, then you know how we build it is the same. We need the same windows, we need the same amount of drywall. You know, I mean, the cost is not in that. It's just the upfront of taking the time. And I mean, how many times, if you're looking for a home, you spend a lot of time with a realtor saying, these are all the things that I want. What difference does it make? You know what I mean?
Oh, exactly.
Look at it on both ends is, oh, it's not more just because it's a person with a disability, you know, that extra time. Think about the mother that has 3 children, and it's like, what's going to be the best home for all of us? My husband is 6'5". He plays, you know, football. And I can't have just any type of home. I need some extra wide doors, or maybe my ceilings need to be higher, or, you know, the counters need to be differently to accommodate his size 16 shoe. I mean, you think about things like that when you're able-bodied and you don't mind the extra time, and, oh, it's going to cost us a little bit more upfront to have her really sit down and design or come up with all the features that we will want in a new home.
Yeah.
It's the same. And why do we have to look at it differently? Because we're talking about someone who just happens to be in a chair, or someone who's on a walker, or someone who's on a cane, or maybe someone needs the home to be painted a different color than the colors that you like to use, because it doesn't work. But how about now that we've been in this pandemic for 15 months, people have found what was the number one thing that they did? They actually started painting, because they realized that the colors that they had in their home were irritating when you have to be there for long periods of time and you're sitting, or, you know, you have to look at a screen and it's like, wow, I wish they would take that red wall down. You know, that red is just so not cute when you're zooming all day. Oh, David, am I talking about you?
Yeah, I was going to
It's just
say,
a small picture.
I was going to say, Dr. Kimberly's not judging anybody on those Zoom calls, but don't make your walls red or whatever, you know?
It's just like, ah.
Yeah, no.
You have PTSD and you've been in a war. Guess what? I don't want to see a red wall.
Exactly. You tell him, Dr. Kimberly.
I want something calm and something soothing. So again, it's about being inclusive in your designing, and it can be universally inclusive of everyone.
Yeah.
Not everybody's feeling some of the same things that person with disabilities are feeling.
For sure. And I think too, it's not just residential wall colors. I think what we're finding, there's a lot of research that's coming out specifically on neurodiversity, right? So in office spaces, you will have folks who may need a low sensory environment. You may have some other employees who may need a high sensory environment and a lot of stimulation. And so it's not just you know, I think the home piece is important, and it's even more important this year because, as you mentioned, folks are spending more time in their homes, and they're thinking about, you know, if I'm going to have to spend all this time here, I might as well make it what I want, right?
Absolutely.
But it's also, as we mentioned, it kind of all dovetails together because it's also that commercial space. It's also those office spaces who may need to work on some more soothing lighting so that it helps, you know, employees who may have some different needs to work at their best, right? And so I would invite, I mean, it's not just, again, the homes, that's a huge piece of it, but I would invite office spaces, I would invite everybody to take a look at your space and figure out how you can design it more universally, more accessibly for everybody. And we are, along with Dr. Kimberly and others, we're that voice for you guys in that space.
All right. Pastor Dave, it's 4:45 already.
It's always the time flies.
Yeah.
What's the old phrase, guys? The time flies when you're having fun, right?
I know.
Absolutely. Well,
Now it's
speaking
to
of time,
say goodbye.
well, before you sing that, the quick flashback to the good old days, 2 years ago, next week, when we had our first Absolutely Accessible Kent workshop with Ileana Rodriguez. I believe
Yes.
you can see her keynote address still on our YouTube page. But after the keynote, I mean, she spoke in the morning, was the technical workshop. Then she did a keynote over lunch. Again, we could hang out together. And then the people with disabilities who were at the event met afterwards, just with Ileana. And the two things I want to say, the first that the totally just, what struck me, because there was about 35 people hanging out with Ileana. And a couple of people said about Absolutely Accessible Kent, it's about time. It's about time. I mean, the ADA at that time was only 29 years old. Now it's going to be 31. It's about time that people take this seriously. And so you're going to learn next week, like with Karen Breitmeyer, it can be beautiful. It should be beautiful. It's your fault if it's not. And then the accessibility of your own home and all that good stuff. But the second part I want to bring up, the comment, I can't remember who said it, Dr. Kimberly, that the comment was that in this room of like 35 people, there were 2 people of color, Dr. Kimberly and Ileana. And so Dr. Kimberly said, we've got to continue to broaden this movement. And this isn't like, we're not trying to keep some secret from folks. So everybody, I don't care your creed, culture, background, come be part of it. Don't hesitate if you need any kind of financial assistance, scholarship, let us know. Because everybody needs accessibility.
Yes.
And welcoming and inclusion. So, I mean, those are 2 comments I'm carrying still from 2 years ago, and I got more, but I'm just saying next Tuesday, 9 a.m., be here in the Zoomverse.
And can I add one more thing to that real quickly, Dave? I think, I think this idea of broadening our diversity is super important as well. It's one of the things that I'm passionate about, because you think about accessibility, and accessibility is huge in being able to allow places and programs and products to be more diverse as well, right? Because disability is something, I think, as Dr. Kimberly has said many times, that doesn't discriminate, right? So disability cuts across gender, cuts across race, cuts across religion, ethnic background, the whole host of the diversity spectrum. And so, I like to tell people that accessibility is the ultimate diversity enhancer, right? Because when we make places accessible, we're going to automatically bring those perspectives that Dave is talking about. But I mean, not to bury the lead or the ending, I guess, as we would say now, but we would just love for anybody who's interested to join us, reach out to us. We don't want, again, the financial piece to be a barrier to anybody. We're all about breaking down barriers. In fact, that is our project tagline at Absolutely Accessible Kent, is breaking down barriers. So please reach out to us, reach out to Dr. Kimberly, and join us on the 20th, the morning of the 20th. We would love to see you.
All right. We want to say thank you. It is now 4:50 p.m. and we want to say thank you for rolling on the road with us on today. We stayed in Kent County. We will go just about anywhere there is to report the news, what's on front. I just want everybody to know I am fully vaccinated and I have not turned into a zombie.
That's good. I knew we had to get the zombie sign in there. I was waiting for it. I was gonna drop it. I was gonna drop it so that she would have to do it. I was gonna say, when I came on, I was gonna say, Dr. Kimberly, I've had my coffee today, so I'm not gonna be a zombie on this show. Right? Oh, there she is.
I love you.
We did it
I
again.
like that. She says, oh,
That's great. That was the best zombie I've seen yet.
so far. Yes.
I have to say that's 5-star right there. So
Yes.
yes, and now to quote Dave, I digress.
Well, we want to
Follow my lead. We all
Yes.
digress.
We want to say thank you so much to the Deaf and Hard of Hearing for rolling with us. And thank you so much to our guest. He's really not a guest, but he kind of is, to Mr. Patrick Parks. I mean, we are just so excited this year. I want to say thank you on behalf of all the participants who are going to be there on Tuesday for putting together such a great resource of information, and how you're including both ends. We have talked about the commercial side for years, but to actually come into the home and see where, guess what, my forever home can actually be something that's going to make me feel good, be good, and roll around in it and say, oh my gosh, yes. It's one thing when you're imprisoned in your body, but to be imprisoned in your home as well. It's like, come on Tuesday and let's free you from your incarceration. Yes, we're really excited and find out what's going to happen on Tuesday, the new information that will be available to you. So today we are going to put a period here and give you some rest over the weekend, and we will see you back on next week. We are so excited. Again, on Tuesday, we are going to kind of have a show after the show. So join us at 4:00 where we'll talk to some participants and get their feedback on how it was for them. On Wednesday, we have the Fords who are all the way in New Jersey. This is going to be a great and interesting story for you. So if you ever thought about paying it forward and wondered, is what I do matter? Does it really matter what I do? On Wednesday, you're going to find out, yes, even if it's only to give someone $1. The difference you make in someone's life when you give them a hand up and not a hand out and help them to live a self-directed life, it can bring change. I mean, real and definite change in the lives of people. So I really want you to tune in on Wednesday when we go to New Jersey, and we're going to hear all about how this couple got a hand up and not a handout and what they did with that. So please, if you are eligible to be vaccinated, please go and get your vaccination. If you're choosing not to, still please make sure that you wash your hands, sanitize, how I feel about, and wash your hands. If not for yourself, do it for your grandma, do it for your auntie, do it for your little cousin, because kids are getting the COVID. Protect yourself, protect your family, and we'll see you on next week.